Now in this video we're going to look at how to construct our cuff and then how to put that cuff into our shirt sleeve. Now this pattern is for a one-piece cuff, so there is only one pattern piece to the cuff, but you can have a two-piece pattern piece for your cuff. There is a step-by-step guide on our canvas pages, and that gives you both alternatives, so a two-piece or a one-piece. So the information is there should you have a two-piece. And as before with our sleeve placket, I've ironed under my 1 centimetre seam allowances all the way around my cuff. I've also inserted some iron-on interfacing on one side, and this is all going to help to make sewing up my cuff that much easier. So the first thing to do is to put the right sides of the cuff together, and I'm just going to sew the two sides of the cuff, which is what we need to do first. And as with the sleeve placket, when we were sewing our centimetre seam allowances, I'm going to start so that I'm not going to be all the way to the edge, because I need those to fold under when I'm going to insert that into the shirt sleeve. So I'm only going to start sewing at that point. So that's that side. And then we will also do the same on the other side. And again, I will stop before I get to the edge there, so that we'll be able to have that turn under to help us to get that into the sleeve. So that's the first thing to do. 1 centimetre seam allowance, and because you've ironed that, you've got those nice creases in place, and that will help you to be accurate with your sewing. So again, I'm just stopping on that 1 centimetre line so that I've got that ability to turn that under. And now I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now when you've done that, if your fabric is a bit bulky, you could grade the seam a little bit if you want, but I do like to just snip that corner. That kind of helps when we fold that under. Again, make sure you're not snipping your stitches. So now we need to turn this to the right side. So again, I put my thumb up there and just fold that under, and that just helps me to get that through, so that hopefully we'll end up with a nice crisp corner. So again, on that side, I just fold under my seam allowance, pop my finger through, and then that is just going to help to get a crisp edge. Again, if you want to, you could use something just to help you get that as crisp, that shape there on the corner as possible. I like to use my scissors. And then hopefully you've got nice cuff. Now you could go and press that, obviously, and then that will all be very nice and ready to insert into our sleeve. So when we insert it into the sleeve, so the sleeve has been put together, so now this is the wrist of our sleeve, if you like. So what I'm going to do is the section of my cuff that has the interlining, I'm going to put that towards the right side of my shirt. So effectively, my shirt sleeve is inside out, but I'm actually going to sew along the right side, so that's inside if you like. So the right side of my cuff is going to go against the right side of my sleeve. And I'm going to try and be as accurate as I can. So I really want that cuff to end perfectly at the edge of my placket. So that's where I'm going to put my first pin. Remember, because we ironed that, we know exactly where we're sewing, hopefully, because you've got a nice line to follow. And then we're just going to make sure that that goes nicely on the inside there. So follow that around like so. Obviously make sure that seam stays nice and flat when you sew that. So you don't want that to crease up, you want that to lie flat. And hopefully that edge of your cuff is going to end nicely the other end where your placket is. So those are going to line up nicely too. So my last pin is going to go in there. Okay, I'm going to sew that. So make sure everything is nice and flat and you're not going to catch anything that you don't want to underneath. So do make sure the cuff edges and the sleeve are all lying correctly underneath before you start. So again, I'm just making sure that my fabric underneath, especially where I put those sections in, are lying nice and flat. So again, where the seam is, I want that to lie flat as possible. And again, take care that you've got it right at this end. Again, if you want to use a pin just to help guide you, that's absolutely fine. Just go as slowly as you need to, so hopefully that will be fine at the end there. Just snip my threads. So as you can see, that's lined up nicely that end, and that is lined up nicely that end. And nothing is untoward. So now we can flip this over. So make sure you can tuck under all of that. So that's all going to be really nice and tucked in. Again, I like to use a pin if things don't look like you want it to go absolutely perfect in there. So then I can pop my pin in. And then again, so effectively your cuff should be just covering that line of stitching we've just done. And then come to the other side, and again making sure everything tucks under nicely. And so that is all going to be very neat. So again, when I'm stitching, I'm just going to be on the inside of the cuff, so I'm edge stitching it if you like. Turn the machine on. Do make sure your sleeve isn't in the way. Take your time so you can get that as accurate as you can. And again, if you find it easy, use a pin just to help you, just to keep that perfectly where you want it to be, so you can just sew to the end. Snip your threads. So now both sides of your cuff are sewn in beautifully. Now you can also now top stitch the edge, which does give you a very nice finish. So again, I'm just going to go just inside of my cuff. That just gives a nice detail and crispness to your shirt cuff. So I'm just going to put my sleeve so it's now the right way round. Obviously your sleeve would be attached to your shirt at this point. And there you have your nice shirt placket finished off with your nice cuff onto the shirt. And then once that's all done and neat, then we would look at putting on our buttonhole and then attaching our button to attach that at the end. Okay, so that's the completion of our shirt sleeve.